Welcome everybody. Good afternoon, Albuquerque, and folks who've joined us today, and of course, lots of folks behind me. And I just want to say, first off, which isn't really, for cameras, but I want to thank all of you. So I'm like turning my bed. Thank you guys. So give each other a round of applause for all you do for housing. Thank you so much. So there's a lot of folks here that I want to acknowledge, but of course we have our city councilor, Cynthia Borrego, who's here. We also have our COO, Lawrence Rael. We have a lot of folks who are going to speak in a little bit from Heading Home and also from our own Family and Community Services. And then an individual, of course, from our federal government who we're very grateful to have here. So I'm not going to introduce everyone, but we're going to hear from a few folks shortly, especially in now Barrett Foundation. Who's here from Barrett, anyone? That's okay, but they are super helpful in this, so just making sure I didn't miss them in the introduction. So, okay, well, I'm very pleased today to be here to announce a very important partnership, one that's been ongoing, but it's really about the Albuquerque Housing Authority and our efforts to help reduce homelessness in Albuquerque. And we know this is a major issue in our city. We know that this is part of both addressing crime from all sides, but I think more importantly, as a compassionate city trying to help every citizen, even if you might be homeless. And so that's something that we're very dedicated to and that we're going to talk about making real progress on today. Now, most critical, of course, for folks experiencing homelessness is actually very basic. It's about a safe, stable place they can call home. And we talk about the spectrum of services that we need to provide for folks who are dealing with homelessness. And it's the fundamental notion of about a housing first model, which is that what someone who's homelessness needs first is a place to live. And that's what this program is all about. And it's very front and center. It's probably the number one priority for our city, even though we have other ones with respect to homelessness. But the housing first model is absolutely essential. And historically, we have made some progress. I think we've done a good job essentially starting this and trying to scale it. This is the next step. And I think this is also a precursor to a whole lot more that we're going to do down the road. So once housed, these homeless individuals and families are then able to focus on the other needs to get out of that cycle of poverty. And that includes finding employment. It includes quality child care. It also includes healthcare needs, physical and mental health combined. And by partnering with two of our strong local nonprofits, of course, the Barrett House and Heading Home, we're able to ensure that this program and the participants get the support they need to really connect with community resources and remain housed and continue to get those services along the way. So I want to recognize, of course, Albuquerque's Housing Authority's commitment to reducing homelessness in our community by targeting this population with Section 8 vouchers and supportive housing programs for those who are experiencing homelessness. And by doing so, of course, our Housing Authority helps households keep permanent housing over the long term and trying to end that cycle of going from shelter to street to shelter to street. That's what we're about really intercepting. Now, homelessness is, of course, a difficult and challenging issue that we're facing throughout our city. But the good news is we have started a lot of wonderful programs, and thanks to Linda's help, who's going to speak to us next, we are able to finance a host 80 new housing vouchers for these individuals, and also 24 other pieces of supportive rental assistance for folks. So that's really what we're here about today. 80 new housing vouchers, 24 new rental assistance programs, and literally on an individual to individual basis. We're going to hear an example of that shortly. This is literally changing lives. And so, Linda, you want to come up next? Thank you for helping Albuquerque.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. I want to start off with a quote, and this is from someone that was assisted with one of our programs. She said, "The worst part of being homeless was not having keys to anything. I was so excited to get the keys, I cried and forgot to sign the lease." And to me, that's something to really think about. We don't even think about our keys very often, do we? But for someone, not only does it unlock a door, but it unlocks so much more. For Adele, one of the ladies served through the tenant-based rental assistance program, it unlocked a safe place to live that was on a bus route that allowed her to take care of medical needs. for Logan, who's going to speak to us in a moment, provided the stability he needed to have a relationship with his family again and to pour back into his community. Housing provides the stability necessary for individuals and families to thrive. They can focus on education, they can focus on employment, and they can focus back into putting into their communities. It provides stability in our community. At the Housing Authority and the city and the service providers that are represented, we have the opportunity every day to hear these stories of how housing changes lives. We are, and that's why we're here today, to talk about some of these programs that are so important to provide stability for individuals, for families, and for the community. First of all, we're proud to announce that in partnership with the city that we have received additional funding for the tenant-based rental assistance program. This is funding from HUD that is given to us through the city and allows us to issue vouchers. We partner with Albuquerque Heading Home, which is here, and we are able to issue short-term 2-year vouchers to their clients that allow them to get a key, get those keys to realize a stable place to live. And those are for clients that are on wait lists for our other housing programs. To date, we have successfully served 18 families or individuals through that program. 15 have successfully transferred into either our public housing or our housing choice voucher program. And with the additional funding we're going to receive, we can serve another 50 to 80 individuals. In addition, after meeting with service providers, listening to their needs and needs of the community, we established a set-aside through our Housing Choice Voucher Program, 125 vouchers for people that are in existing supportive housing programs and are ready to move into a more permanent solution. What this means is that now opens up valuable spaces in these overly stressed programs that already exist. It moves people that are in those programs now into a more permanent solution and then frees up those slots to bring more people out of homelessness into supportive housing. Together, these efforts will serve over 175 households that either are experiencing or have experienced homelessness. But that's just the beginning. We anticipate that these will be reoccurring annually, that we'll be able to continue to do this on an annual basis. So as the mayor said, we can continue to cycle people through the cycle, not back onto the streets, but bring them off the streets into supportive housing, then into permanent housing solutions, and then provide the services for them to be successful in their housing. We are so grateful to the partnerships that have allowed this to happen. Our partnership with HUD, I don't know if we have any HUD representatives with us today, but this funding all comes to us from HUD. We are very thankful for our partnership with the city, with Albuquerque Heading Home, and so many service providers. We have the staff of many, the Housing Authority staff, city staff, Heading Home staff, as well as staff and representatives from other service providers. These are the people that make these programs work, and for them, I am very thankful. I'm also thankful for our board, which is represented with us here today. With these partnerships, I feel that together we can help more people achieve the dream of having those keys that are going to unlock so much more than just their front door. And with that, I'd like to introduce Logan. Logan Streeter was part of the first group. We had our very first group of our set-aside vouchers. We are working with 38 families and individuals in our first group of vouchers, 20 of which we're proud to say are have their voucher and are seeking housing right now. Logan was one of the very first who, he was ready. He is in his apartment. He has those keys. So I'd love for Logan, because he is really passionate about helping others, he's here to share his story.
You can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Yes, you can. You can. Yes, you can. You're nervous. We know you're nervous.
Yeah.
You can
I
do
apologize for that.
it. You can do it.
My name is Logan Streeter.
You can do it.
This city saved my life. Homeless for years, drug addict, you name it, I was. Between health care for the homeless, headed home, These people pushed me, got me to where I'm at.
Take your time. You can do this. You can do it. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. And let them know your circumstances that this is, let them know your.
I ain't much on public speaking.
Okay.
I can help
That's
share
okay.
your story if you'd like.
But I thank you for having me. But I love this city and I love all these organizations. So if I can do it, anybody can do
There
it.
you go. There you go.
Thank y'all for having me.
Thank you.
You gonna make it back? Can you?
Okay.
Yes.
We'll help you. Come on, you'll turn around this way.
Thank you, Mr. Streeter. Public speaking is not fun, right? For any of us. Mr. Streeter shared with us, and I just want to share, he is very thankful to so many agencies that helped him. And he said this is not his success, but the success of those agencies. Another story he shared with us is that now that he is in his home, he has his keys, that he had nightmares the first week living there, that he would leave and it would disappear. And so really our reason to be here today, our reason to have these programs is to make those nightmares go away and for more people to have that reality of keys and housing that's not going to go away. So with that, I think Lisa can talk so much more about the impact, would Lisa go? Of how these programs are so important and the impact they have on the community.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lisa Uval. I'm the Deputy Director of Housing and Homelessness within Family and Community Services for the City of Albuquerque. And I'm here today to talk a little bit about the city's long history of investing in a homeless crisis response system that helps people find safe housing they can afford as quickly as possible. We, along with everyone standing here today and our community partners, know that the primary need of those living without homes is housing. Many people also need some supportive services, at least for a little while, to connect with community resources, learn how to be good tenants, and address underlying issues that may have contributed to their homelessness. Without housing, it is very difficult to build a better life. If you are dealing with a chronic illness, you have no safe place to store your medicine or prepare the right foods. If you are looking for employment, you do not have an address to list on your job application or a place to keep nice clothes for an interview. If you are a parent, you cannot provide your child with the safe, predictable routine that she needs to thrive. Once individuals and families have a safe place to call home, they can focus on taking care of all their other needs. But housing is the first step. And that is why the city has invested almost $8 million annually in federal and local funds in supportive housing programs like the Home TBRA program that we just learned about a few minutes ago. These programs help homeless individuals and families quickly find a safe place to live and then provide services to ensure that participants have the resources and support they need to remain stably housed. Some of our homeless community members will only need transitional housing for a limited amount of time to get back on their feet. Others who are struggling with serious behavioral health challenges or chronic illness will need permanent supportive housing in order to thrive. We also know that using a housing first approach is the best way to help our homeless neighbors exit homelessness. And the city helped pioneer this approach in Albuquerque by funding Housing First Vouchers, which are administered by Supportive Housing Coalition. Housing First is based on the principle that housing is a human right, not a reward for compliance. Under Housing First, the focus is on helping homeless households quickly find safe and permanent housing and then providing the supportive services they need to be good tenants. The city invests in supportive housing with a housing first approach because we know for sure that it works. For example, over 90% of participants served in Albuquerque's federally funded permanent supportive housing programs remained in the program or exited to another type of permanent housing in a recent 12-month period. That's a 90% or more success rate. And these are folks with serious disabilities, many of whom were homeless for a long time before entering housing. We also know that supportive housing is cost effective. A 2016 study of the Albuquerque Heading Home initiative, which provides permanent supportive housing to chronically homeless people, found that participants use significantly less public resources post-housing, resulting in a cost savings of $14,000 per participant in the 2 to 3 years after obtaining housing. In summary, the city has a long history of partnership with our strong nonprofit organizations to help individuals and families end their homelessness permanently, with housing and supportive services at the very core of our strategy. Thank you.
Thank you. I think actually that's all our speakers for today. What we'll do, of course, if you want to talk to Linda or Lisa or anyone else, we can just grab them over there. So thank you all for coming. Thank you.